All right, FFA, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this Wednesday morning call. I got a special guest with me today. Who knows who that is?
Nobody.
Nobody? Everybody knows who you are. But today's
Good
a cool
morning,
call.
everybody.
I've got Alisha to come on here to do a Q&A session. And basically, I'm going to ask her a bunch of questions for you guys. And if you have questions you want to ask her, put it in the chat. But our goal for today's call is that you get to pick the brain of the person who really started everything. So, good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. If you guys don't know this, if you're new watching Facebook, this is my wife, Alisha. So we're coming up on our 12-year anniversary. She's not killed me yet. So we got some good things going for us. But first off, guys, what an awesome week that you guys have had out there in the field. It's been pouring rain pretty much all week, but you guys have been out there hustling and crushing it. So shout out to you for doing that. We've got a lot of cool announcements coming down the pipeline. On Friday, we're going to announce the rest of the award nominees. So we've got the Agent of the Year and the Rookie of the Year nominees posted on the last call on Monday. So Friday will be the other award winners. And then we're also coming in the weeks to come going to drop where the 2025 agency trip is going to be. What do you think it's going to be?
So usually these trips are based off of where I want to travel to. So I check out my bucket list and I'm like, where do I want to go? And honestly, I'd really like to go back over to Europe, Finland, Norway, Iceland.
Everywhere that has like a 20-hour flight.
The plane ride. Oh my gosh, it's torturous. So I really don't know. If you guys have any ideas of something fun to do, post it in WhatsApp so I can browse and kind of get an idea of where would be something fun to go. It has to be somewhere we've not been. I don't want to travel somewhere that we've already gone before. So
I think we should do Yellowstone.
No, we're not doing
Or Alaska.
Alaska would be fun.
In the snow.
Would you guys want a winter trip? That would be fun. Like a ski trip, go look at whales.
What about Lake Tahoe?
No.
No Lake Tahoe?
Nope.
Napa Valley?
Nope. It'd be fun.
She's on this Iceland kick. I don't really think there's anything to do in Iceland besides look at maybe polar bears. I'm pretty sure it's cold there. So I don't know.
TikTok. Say Iceland's
TikTok. So
TikTok.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be a surprise.
So post in WhatsApp. Where do you want to go? Where would be fun? Where have you been? What have you seen other people going to? Give me some ideas because I am stumped. I don't know what to pick.
And that's a first. You usually know where you want to go.
I know.
Yeah. She did pick Greece. Greece was an awesome trip, but the plane ride was 20 hours.
I don't know. It was long.
It was long.
It was long.
But it was worth it. But anyways, we'll be dropping that soon in the weeks to come. Holiday party coming up on the 11th. But for today.
Of January.
Yes.
Today's December 11th.
Yeah, not today. It's not today. Don't show up today. You can come hang out with us today, but there'll be no food or nothing fun to do. So January 11th for the holiday party. But guys, 2025 is shaping up to just be a huge year of growth and excitement. So we're excited to wrap up 2024 and jump right into it. So question for you, Alisha. People know your story. Some people do. I obviously do. But for everybody that's watching this, what did you do before insurance? And then why did you pick insurance over what you went to school for?
So, gosh, before insurance, I was a nurse. So grew up in a very, very small town. And I feel like all the women in the small town went to do something in the healthcare or dental industry. So I knew very early on that I wanted to do something in healthcare. And ironically, my grandmother told me not to be a doctor. She said, do nursing, don't do doctor. You're not going to like it. Well, that was bad advice, right? Like, don't tell your children not to be a doctor, but she did. So I went to nursing school. I became a nurse really, really young. I became a registered nurse at 20. And after 10 years of doing it, we were married. We had 2 kids. And nurses make good money. If you're a nurse listening to this, or if you've ever been in the healthcare industry, nurses make good money, but they don't make enough money for their value and their worth. And I always wanted more. I've always had a higher taste, right? Like nicer cars, nicer clothes. I just always wanted more. And I seen more for myself, my kids, for you. So I decided to go back to school. When it comes to the health industry, if you're a nurse, the next thing to do is master's. What is it? Nurse practitioner, nurse anesthetist. something in business with nursing, and I decided to do nurse practitioner. It made the most sense. It gave me the most time with the children at the time. Tanner was, like 6 months, I think, and Landon was 2.5. So dived right into nurse practitioner school, and very, very shortly met a girl who was in my class who was selling insurance on the side. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, I have sold everything under the sun, right? LuLaRoe, Mary Kay, Premier Jewelry, you name it, I sold it. And I was like, nope, that bridge is burnt down. I am done selling things. I am not getting into that. And after about 2 months of just watching the money that she was making for doing the very similar thing that I already did as a nurse, she met people, she was friendly with people, she became their friend. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I like to talk. I like to be friends with people. Let's see what this is about. And I dived into the insurance industry, and 2 years later, graduated nurse practitioner school. But at that point in time, I was already making more money in insurance sales than I was going to make as a nurse practitioner. So it just made no sense. Why give up insurance when I could work my schedule, work the hours I wanted to work, make more money versus working a 9 to 5 in a doctor's office? So that's my background and what led me to the insurance world.
I know a lot of people, when you tell them that, think that you're crazy, that you wouldn't be a nurse practitioner after doing. I remember she was doing the schooling for that, and we were paying on, the student loan or whatever it was for her degree. And like halfway through it, she's like, I'm never going to use this, but I'm going to finish it anyway. So that's interesting. Here's a question for you. When you got started, like, what makes an agent good? So like, obviously when you got started, you were selling, doing good. What's the difference between an agent who does good their first 6 months and an agent who does bad?
So there's really two things. My number one thing is communication. Communication in all aspects of everything, right? Your marriage. You have a good marriage when you have good communication. You raise your kids the best way by communicating with them. You don't just ignore them. That's the same thing when it comes to this, is communication. And it's going to be the key across the entire board of everything. Agents who communicate the most do the best. Agents who do not communicate do not do good. This industry is very, very lonely, right? We're in our car, we're by ourselves, we're working from home. We are alone 9 times out of 10. So when you have someone that you are constantly communicating with, constantly asking for help, constantly jumping in their back pocket and looking to grow to their level, then you're going to succeed. As a leader in the insurance industry, what I have found is when agents don't communicate with me, they kind of fall off the board. But when agents blow me up, they do very, very well. And you have to be able to communicate when you're struggling, because I'm not a mind reader. He's not a mind reader. I wish I was a mind reader. I learned last night that Kay is a mind reader, but I am not. So communication, not just with me, but with your direct coach. And if you're not in our agency, with whoever your agency is with, right? But communication is the key. When you have a 0 day, don't let it lead to 2 0 days, 3 0 days, a 0 week, a 0 month. Communicate with someone right then and there and demand that attention. Want it, strive for it, make your coach reply to you, make them coach you to get you to where you want to be. The second big reason people fail out of the insurance industry is discipline. That is what is going to make it or break it for those that you see who are over 100K this year, as opposed to people that are not at the 100K mark. It is all going to boil down to discipline. Discipline is what's going to get you out your door and get you to go ahead and strive for more. It's raining all week so far here in North Carolina, and it is absolutely nasty outside. If you have gone out in the field this week, that's discipline. If you've gotten on the phone calls to do telesales this week, that's discipline. And I mentioned telesales because on rain, you're tired, right? Who wants to call all day when it's raining outside? You just want to snuggle up on the couch, especially when the rain brings cold weather. But being able to get out of your house or get on a phone call, that is discipline. And that's what it takes to be very, very successful in this industry.
Love those answers. Communication and discipline. So what were your first 6 months like? Like, think back to you being a nurse still, you still working in a hospital, all of that. What did that look like?
Gosh, it was such a long time ago. The first 6 months, you guys, oh my gosh, was so much tears. Like the first week was a high. The first week was absolutely incredible. I remember my very first week messaging you and saying, I just made $7,000 and I've only worked for 3 days. And doesn't mean the 7,000 was in my account right then and there, but that is what I was going to get paid if my policies went through.
Yeah. My response to that was, are you doing something illegal or what are you
Yeah. And so the first week was a complete high, but I did not quit my nursing job. My nursing job was our income. That was our health insurance. That was our main income. So I worked as a nurse 3 nights a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, slept on Mondays, and then worked insurance Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I did that from March until September. September is when I finally quit my nursing job. I put in my 30-day notice in August, and then I quit in September. So for that length of time, I juggled both my nursing career, nurse practitioner school, our 2 children, and this career. So lots of tears, lots of tiredness, but I knew it was going to work. And how did I know that? Because I looked around the room of the people that I was working with, right? And you guys can do that now too. You can look around the room of who you're working with. And I knew if it was working for them, it was going to work for me. There was nothing that they had that I didn't have. There was nothing they could do that I could not do. And I might be a little cocky, it might be a little arrogant. I don't know. I just knew that if they could do it, I could do it. And I have always been that way with everything. There's nothing that someone else can do that I can't do. And that was the mentality that I took with it. If you were making $10,000 in sales in a week, I was going to do it. I was probably going to be better at it. If you were making $100,000 in a year, I was going to do that. So there was lots of 0 weeks. There was lots of $3,000 weeks. There was 0 days. And the biggest thing that stood out to me the most over that 6-month time period was we were broke, did not have money, overdrafted every single month with Navy Federal. But the biggest thing that stood out the most is I remember calling you at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and saying, I've not made any money today, so I can't pay daycare. So I've got to keep working. You've got to get the kids. And he was working a 9 to 5. So he would go get the kids and I would keep working until I made a sale, because I knew if I didn't make a sale that day, I wasn't going to be able to pay daycare on Friday. And if I couldn't pay daycare on Friday, they couldn't come back the following Monday, and it was going to be a disaster. So gosh, a lot of discipline had to be shown in that 6-month period. And it was so, so hard. But if you push through that hardness, you push through it and you just keep going, it gets better. And I always say, like, the 90-day mark, a light switch flips. And when that light switch flips, you've got it down pat. You know what you're doing and you're just able to grind it out. And I would much rather do this than go sit in a doctor's office 9 to 5 doing that line of work. I love it. I appreciate all the doctors out there, but I would much rather do insurance. And I'm glad we suffered through those first few months of me trying to figure this out.
Yeah. I remember you texted me how much money did you made, and I texted her back and said, okay, I'm quitting my job and doing it too. What do you think when I quit?
So he did not quit immediately. And I actually told him no. It was like, I think the 3 or 4 month mark of me in insurance. And he wanted to quit his general contracting job and jump into insurance. And I was like, that's a hard no. I am still figuring this out. At this point, I was stopping working as a nurse. You were going to be carrying our health insurance. And I was like, absolutely not. You're not quitting. And he went behind my back. Oh my gosh, men, you're not supposed to do that. He went behind my back, got licensed, bought a over $1,000 iPad on a credit card without my permission. Guys, we don't do that. And got licensed and then quit his job and was like, okay, I'm doing this. And I was like, all right, well, here we go. And hindsight 2020, I mean, it's a blessing in disguise. It's done nothing but make us more successful working together. And it's been an amazing experience working alongside you. But it was definitely a scary time. You know, losing that health insurance coverage is a scary time. And if you're on this call, you probably have felt that. And you might be on this call and you might be feeling that right now. But it's totally worth it. Drop the health coverage. It's worth it.
You know, it's funny. We actually pay less in health insurance now than we did when we were paying for it through your job or through my job. Mm-hmm. Looking back at it, just had to figure it out. But here's a question everybody wants to know. Who's better at selling, me or you?
Totally me. Duh. No, it just depends. We have different ways, and we've not worked together in a car since I was pregnant with Sutton. So 2019. And we only went to, I think, one house, and we got in, and I said, like, after we were done with this house, I'm going to take me home. I'm done working with you. Give me my car.
I was like, you talk way too much in that house. I can't do this.
We are total opposites. I connect a lot with the client, and he is not that way. And
no, I'm like, here we go. Sign the paper. On to the next one.
So we sell differently, and I am a little more dominant when it comes to being tag teamed up in a house. So if you've ever worked with me before, I have a problem with that. So I have tried to lean back and so we don't work together in the car.
It's funny how certain clients relate to different people and personalities. So I remember like my second ever policy I sold was a lady who lived right down the street from our house in the mountains. She was one that kept telling you to come back. Remember her? No. Right around the corner. Mm-hmm. First one ever, sold her. I remember telling her who I sold, and she's like, you did what? She kept telling me to come back. And then like fast forward a little bit, I had a lady that kept telling me to come back, and she kept not like letting me in the house. And so she went over there, and she was able to help her out. And I guess it was just a guy versus girl thing. So that leads me to my next question. Who do you think does better at this industry, guys or girls? There's a stigma that like going door to door, you have to be a guy. What do you think?
Do you want my honest? Like, do you guys want me to be honest? Or is honesty gonna like get me some bad feedback on this video?
We can take some hate. We can take some hate on
So this insurance in general is like a man's world, right? Like insurance has always been a man's show. Men have always done the insurance sales. But honestly, I think women just have more determination, more grind factor, more want. Overall, in the last 7 years, from bringing on men and bringing on women, I show women how to do it, and they just get out there and do it. And I show men how to do it, and sometimes men are a little whiny. That's just my honest.
It is true.
It's true. And so I think like women just have it in them. Like, just, you got to work, you got to show up, you got to do it. And sometimes men just make excuses. But that doesn't mean women don't make excuses too. They definitely do. But I think women have got it, and the men got to show up and show off a little bit. Because right now the women are killing it. The top 5 in our company are all women. Yeah.
And hey, we can talk about this because she's a girl and I'm a guy, so we can both hate on each other a little bit. But one thing, okay, there's a myth, right, that a lot of guys will say is that it's easier for a girl to get into a house versus a guy. What do you think?
I don't think that's true. I think if you look back since insurance started, I don't even know that date, early 1900s, I don't know. If you look back at the beginning of insurance sales, it was all men. And majority of the people that we work with are the baby boomers. And that generation respect men in power more so than they respect women in power. That's their generation. The 80s, the 70s, sometimes the 60s, the 90-year-olds, most of them, their husbands worked, and they were the person at the home leading the household or raising the children. So they respect men in power. So I think that's just an excuse. I think that's a cop-out. I think saying that, the other gender gets in better than me is a reason, making an excuse as to why you're not getting in the door, when you really should just be communicating and asking for help, because you've got a man who can help you get in, you got a woman who can help you get in, and you have other coaches on the team who could also help you get in. So I think the whole gender thing is not accurate. I think anyone can get in the door. It's just you got to have the skill set to do it.
What do you think too? So there's a lot of like ladies, right? And I know we talked to a lot of potential agent. We brought on a lot of people. And one of like the biggest questions I always get on like interview calls, and I know you do too, is like if it's a girl, her feeling like, afraid to go out there to knock on a door by herself. Like, what's your experience been as a female doing that in the field?
I mean, you're more likely to get shot walking through a city, right? Like, you go to New Orleans, you go to Las Vegas, you go to New York City, where else? Nashville, right? Those places are dangerous. The general public of who we're dealing with are our seniors, especially if you're door knocking. You're door knocking 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old individuals. There has been in the last 7 years, 3 times that I've driven up to a house and I've not felt comfortable, and I didn't knock on the door. I left. we have, as women, that gut instinct. Men probably do too. I can't speak for men. I'm not one. But women, we have that gut instinct of, this is a dangerous situation and I'm not going to encounter it. And you just leave. There was one time I was field training Aaron, actually, and we went into a house and we were going to his living room and it was pitch black. All the lights were out. And I was like, okay, probably getting ready to leave this house. I'm not going to do this. And we go in the living room and he had an ankle monitor on. And I was like, all right, sir, here you go. You have a blessed day. And I just gave him a piece of paper with my business card and we bounced out. So if you encounter a situation that you don't feel comfortable with, leave. No one's making you stay there. Definitely leave. Or don't go in at all. But in the last 7 years, it's only happened to me 3 times where I have felt just uneasy about a situation. Now, this guy with the ankle bracelet on, he could have been the nicest man ever, right? I didn't feel comfortable, so I exited that situation. And if you are a woman, you know you have to be aware of your surroundings. Even in Target, you have to be aware of your surroundings. Heck, someone tried to kidnap me in Chapel Hill Walmart, right? It doesn't mean I'm not ever going back to Walmart. So I don't get scared. I don't. I feel comfortable. I know that might sound weird to some people, but I don't get uncomfortable, and I know my surroundings.
For sure. I mean, I can think of the thousands of clients that our agency's helped and all of the ladies in the agency. And I can't think of one instance where there was a situation. You know, people are nicer than it's portrayed on the media. You know,
and they're appreciative.
Yeah, most people are looking for help for sure. So let's talk about this. So when you got started, you sold a lot. Like, you did really good individually, but you also recruited at the same time. Like, I think you were recruiting like your very first 2 weeks you started this. So a lot of agents think like, I need to learn how to sell before I recruit, and I can't do both. And how do I juggle both? So like, give them the picture of like what this business actually should look like. How were you able to do both?
So there really is like no juggling. You just do it. And it's kind of the similar of holding a baby on your hip and making a bottle, or holding a baby on your hip and cooking dinner. You just do it, right? You just find a way and you do it. And I think with building, it's the same way. I did start building really, really quickly. And the reason I did was because I was told the income potential. And why would I not do that? Why would I not teach someone else to do what I can do? If you're on this Zoom, chances are you were hired by me, by Ryan, or by someone who was on this Zoom. And had I not reached out to you and hired you, you wouldn't have this business. You wouldn't have the lifestyle that you have right now. So by not reaching out to someone, you're hindering them from changing their life. Life is hard right now. I mean, the price of everything is ridiculous. The price of daycare is absolutely insane. My grandma used to run a daycare and she charged $100 a week.
I wish it was still like that.
Dollars a week. And oh my gosh, I think we're paying like $560. It's insane. So I can't imagine not having this career. I can't imagine not having the ability to just go out and sell an insurance policy and make a couple $100. So think to yourself, if you're listening to this, think, where would you be if you didn't have this career? Where would you be if the person who reached out to you did not? And are you hindering other people from having the same success that you're having, from making the money that you're making? They could be making as well. So I started hiring very, very quickly. It was hard. That's where all those tears came from in those first 6 months, but it's so worth it. It's amazing when people text you and tell you their income. I had someone text me yesterday actually and told me what they had made in the month of November. And she's like, I made in a month what I was making in a year. And that's incredible. And to know this girl and where she's come from, and to know her children, it's incredible to hear the income that's being made. So had I not reached out to someone who reached out to her, then her lifestyle would not be what it is today. And so take that for what it is, and don't be afraid to reach out to people. It's just like door knocking. The worst thing they're going to tell you is no, but you could actually change their life. And it's fun. It's fun to teach people. It's fun to hear the stories that they're going to bring along with that change in their life as well.
Love that. So true. Guys, if you're just staying focused on one thing, you're kind of missing the overall picture of what this opportunity can do, right? There's individual production, but then there's agency. And if you can get good at practicing both right away, then in a year, there's no limit to where you're going to be at. You know, you can only do so much by yourself, but as a team, it's endless what you can achieve. So how do you juggle being a mom and a wife and then going to work and doing all of that? I know it's pretty easy because you have me to like do most of the stuff, but like, how do you juggle all of that?
I mean, with help, right? Like daycare, we have school, we have childcare. I think just asking for help and knowing that you're not going to get it all done in a day. If you were to walk to my house right now, there is going to be a pile of towels sitting in the living room floor. They are folded. And then there's going to be 4 piles of kids' clothes waiting for someone to magically take them upstairs and hang them up. And I did that last night, folded it, left it there. I was like, oh, I'm going to bed, right? And then this morning looked at it and walked right past it and kept on trucking. So just knowing that you're not going to get it done all in a day, no one expects you to. If you are a working mom, no one expects you. And if your husband does expect you to, I'll have a conversation with them. You just let me know. But no one expects you to just be able to grind all day at work and then come home and grind all afternoon and getting the house clean.
Them towels better be put up.
And yeah. No one expects that from you. So stop expecting that from yourself. Now, if you are able to do every single thing, heck yeah, hallelujah, that's amazing. But I think just taking that expectation off of you, that is required. And if you get off work late in an afternoon and you want to pick up McDonald's for them kids, you go pick up McDonald's for them kids because
chicken nuggets have protein.
They love some Happy Meals, especially the toy. So just taking that expectation, that stigma off of you, that as a woman, you have to be able to do it all because you don't. And guess what? That laundry will be there tomorrow. Those dishes will still be there tomorrow. That crumb on the floor will still be there tomorrow. So I think that's the biggest thing is just not expecting you to do 100% in every single category. If you're giving 100% in your work category, Monday through Friday, then you can give 100% to your clean the house category on Saturday. And that's kind of what I do. Saturday is my let's clean the house all day long, 2 hours, however long it takes. Yeah.
So true. And if you have kids, it doesn't even matter if you clean up in the morning because by the time you get back there, it's going to be all destroyed again anyway. So you might as well just do it once a week. But how did you manage? So think about you being in the field. I know when we were both in the field full time, not managing the company, just me and you out there selling, we'd both be out there from 9 to 4 or 5, depending who was picking up the kids for daycare and stuff. What did your schedule look like during the week? How many hours were you working? And then what were you writing each week?
I knew I had to be out of my house before the conference call started. If I was not out of my house before the conference call started, I was not going to leave my house. Stuff happens. I mean, goodness gracious, the air conditioner will break, the hot water will stop working, a cabinet will fall off the wall. Something is always going to happen. Life happens. And I knew if I was not out of my house early enough before the conference call started, my day was going to be ruined. And daycare was, right at a 45-minute drive for us back then. So I had to be out of my house in time to get the kids at daycare so that I was in my car listening to the conference call, fully able to listen. And I know these conference calls, you guys, sometimes can be redundant, right? Especially if you've been an agent for a hot minute. But you just never know. One piece of information might be dropped that you're like, oh, wow, that just changed my entire perspective. So I never missed a conference call. I was in labor with Sutton on a conference call. I was in labor with Bennett and doing a conference call, or you were doing the conference call and I was listening to it. So I think conference calls were very, very important. And I still to this day think they're incredibly important. So I would leave the house early enough to be on the conference call. The calls would start at 8:30. So I'd leave the house around 7:30, get the kids dropped off, get back in my car and start driving to my first house while listening to the call. If I got to my destination before the call was over, I pulled over, finished the call before I knocked on my first door. And then I was knocking my first door by 9 or 9:30 every single day. The only time I ever left the field before 5 o'clock was if I was picking the kids up. Mm-hmm. If you were picking the kids up, then I would stay in the field until I got into that last house at 5 o'clock. But if I was picking the kids up, daycare closed at 5:30, I'd have to leave the field around 4, depending on where I was at. So I worked a full-time schedule. And that makes a huge difference. If you want 2025 to be different than what your 2024 was, you have to do something different than what you did in 2024. So if you are so accustomed to only working one presentation or two presentations and then leaving the field, or not hitting the field until 11 and then leaving the field by 2, change that up. Do something different in 2025 to make 2025 better than 2024. And I challenge you this too, right? The call, I think we're almost out of time here, but I challenge you this. If you made 100K in 2024, don't make 100K in 2025. Make more, want more. The more you want, the more your life is going to change. You're going to level up. And it's not about money. It's not all about money, but it is about changing your life and then changing your children's lives. And when you hit a certain dollar amount figure of income in a year, you are now able to change your children's lives. It's not just about your life. And then when you hit the next level, you're changing your grandchildren's lives. So strive for more, push for more. If I can do it, you guys can do it. I think Sylvia asked what books I like to read. One major book for the ladies is Superwoman by Nicole Lapin. I think is how you say her last name. It's an amazing, amazing book. And then Girls Stop Apologizing by Rachel Hollis. For you ladies, those are my favorite 2 books. They will change your perspective. Men, Dynamic People Skills, Atomic Habits. Both books are absolutely incredible. And Willie Robertson has a new book out called Gospeler. And that's like a gender neutral, guys or girls. But those are the books I would say dive into going into the new year. And let's make 2025 big.
Love it. Love all the tips. Last question. I know we're about out of time, but this is one I know people want to hear about. So when we got started, right, we didn't have really any money for leads, gas, like we were starting with nothing. So what's your tip for an agent that's like in that spot now? Like, how many leads should they be getting? What should they spend? What should that look like? How were we able to start from nothing and build our way up, even being able to get leads throughout the week?
Well, one is communication. If you are like $0 in your bank account, I would rather you ask us for help with leads than sit at home and do nothing, and then sit at home again and do nothing. And then it's a week and you've done nothing. Well, if you had 0 at the beginning of the week and you didn't work any this week, you're still going to have 0 money at the end of the week. So I would much rather you ask for help with assistance with leads than not work at all. But we didn't have money. And I want to say our first order of leads was given to us. And then we made money off of those leads. And then we used that money to buy the next batch of leads. And then we just kept doing that. You cannot spend all your money that you make. It's not your money. It's your company's money. Even if you have not made yourself into an S Corp or you've not made yourself into an LLC, it is still your company's money. So don't spend your company's money before you invest in order to be able to work the next week. So if you buy 20 leads this week and you sell 15 of them, some of that money is going to buy you leads for next week. Don't go drop it all on Christmas presents. Some of it needs to be there in order to invest for yourself for next week and then the next week. And it should just be a compounding effect. You should never actually be buying leads again. You're using the money you made to purchase more leads. But yeah, that's what I have for that. But don't sit at home and not work because you don't have leads. Let someone know. And if last week we gave you all 15 leads. If you've not worked them, go work them. Go work those leads. Yeah. So something cool we're doing right now.
That's awesome. Closing tip. Somebody wants to have a huge year 2025. What do they got to do?
They got to communicate and they got to go to work. You got to communicate. You have to ask for help. Don't struggle. Ask for help. The objections at the door, I know how to overcome them. Your coach knows how to overcome them. Ryan knows how to overcome them. Ask for help. You cannot get further without asking for help. So if you want 2025 to be the best year, ask for help, get coaching, set a plan, set a goal, and then let's tackle it together.
Love it. That's all it is, guys. Take those tips, run with them. That's all we got for you today. We will be back here on Friday. Appreciate you guys for tuning in.
Bye.